Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Ashley Mailloux with producer Lucia helping us out for a graded stakes race on Sunday over at Saratoga. It's the grade three Mahony as we take a look at 5.5 furlong turf sprinters here, grade three action. Ashley, thought that some of the major players in here would look towards the outside Governor Sam. I mean, he's just been so good from last year, consistent all throughout. You look at the turf form overall, too. The only time in 9 career races he didn't finish in the top 3 was in a race that was taken off the turf. So this horse always shows up. He's in really, really nice form. Think he finished 6th in his career debut in a stakes race. Everything else we're seeing is just solid. He's the horse to beat, Ashley.
Absolutely. And you kind of look at his body of work. You talked about the wins, but even his third place finish in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint behind Magnum Force, Arizona Blaze, who, if I'm not mistaken, most recently was able to win a undercard race on Irish Oaks Day just a couple weeks ago. So based on his body of work, he deserves to be the favorite. Very curious, though, how the rest of the field will be played. I think Saturday Flirt, the filly, as well as the number 4 Spiced Up, they're going to take some love.
Yeah.
So we'll see what Governor Sam is. He even money? Maybe he is, but I have a feeling the others will take some play as well.
Yeah, because as we move to the projector, the 2 horses that you mentioned, they're kind of the new faces, the horses that if you're looking to bet the race, those are probably the ones that you would gravitate towards because they have a lot of upside in here. I'm not sure about the projector. I think all these horses are quick, but honestly, a lot of the races that Gabaldon's in, this guy is fast. Like he can absolutely fly. He finished second at Royal Ascot in a field of 27 because he's just so much quicker than a lot of horses out of the box. I don't know if he even wants to go 5.5, but I feel like he'll probably be in front because he can really fly.
Yeah, I don't know how you can really assess this. To think that Ortley Avenue and the 4 Spiced Up are this quote unquote far apart. I mean, we're talking about lengths, right? I don't know if that's really the case. You look at Spiced Up's fractions for those races, sure, was tracking, but different 6 furlongs versus the 5.5 at Saratoga for Ortley Avenue.
Yeah.
I really don't know what to make out of this. There's a turf sprint. I think the 5 will be forward from the gate, right? I think Gabaldon has to be forward. Governor Sam's going to track, but it's always tough in the turf sprints to really say, oh, this one horse is getting the lead, unless there are the few horses that we can think of off the top of their head that that's the game, right? They're not that far apart, some of these horses.
Let's meet the field, and we'll start with Innovator, who was on the Triple Crown Trail earlier on in the year. They were trying to get this horse into the Kentucky Derby. He ran third in the Lecomte. Then he was in the Rebel, the Jeff Ruby Stakes before they cut him back in the Pat Day Mile. Then they flipped him to the turf, and he's actually kind of woken up in his last couple races on the grass, Ashley. I thought both of them are good. He ran into a horse named Maytown, who you gave out on this show a few weeks back. Maytown has won a couple races in a row. It is in really nice form. Won the P Patch, I think, for the 3rd straight victory. Then most recently ran into a horse named Litigation, who has 3 straight wins. So while he has not won on the grass in his 2 starts, he's fired in both of them, and he's run into pretty sharp horses. My concern is that this is another step up in class, and the rail draw can sometimes be tricky for a horse like him who might have to come from off the pace. But I don't really have a lot of negative things to say about his turf races coming into this.
No, and I think it kind of flatters him that Litigation came back, 3.5 weeks later and was able to roll again with a comparable buyer for his win. Now, Innovator got the pace help last time out. I think Litigation had the jump on him, and that's why you see what happened. But turf form, I would agree with you. He's woken up a little bit. I think a horse here that you can maybe sneak into the bottom of the exotic should offer some value. And, is going to have to hope that the pace in here comes back to him in deep stretch.
One of 4 horses from the grade 3 quick call was Jet Sweep Joe. As I was doing the preview, I almost called this race the quick call because I had it on big letters right above the preview. 4 exit this one. Governor Sam, who was first. Ortley Avenue, who was third. No Evidence, Ortley Avenue, who was second. No Evidence, who was third. And then Jet Sweep Joe was fifth. I couldn't really make an excuse or find an excuse for him to try to turn the tables on those ones. Ashley, could you?
No, I couldn't. I mean, Ortley Avenue did the hard work on the front end. Governor Sam tracked, and this one just wasn't able to close. So can't love that performance. You can go down the page 2 back. Did get the win up at Woodbine, going 5 furlongs, but just a different sort of ball game. And I think when you look at him against the 6 competition, he might be a cut below.
Saturday Flirt is the next one up. 3 for 4, and the lone loss came at Royal Ascot. Won the off-turf Soaring Softly Stakes last time out. Was pretty good winner at Keeneland a couple starts back, going 5.5 furlongs on the turf, was in between horses, mid pack, was up to challenge with dead aim early in the stretch. Nice victory. I think one of my major problems with this one, Ashley, is that this is a Saturday flirt and the Mahoney's on Sunday. But other than that, she probably fits pretty well in here.
Oh Lord, I'm just gonna let you have that one. Go back to the group two again. You know, you never know what you're doing when you ship overseas. It's a straight configuration. Look at the name that comes up. Arizona Blaze was third again, a horse that we already talked about. Then to see her regrouped, she had to face the olders in her return at Keeneland. That was no problem on the grass, and then obviously a rained off event back in early June at Saratoga, and she still won. Pace Projector has her last early. She could be. I don't know if she has to be, though. She does have a pretty wicked late turn of foot. I expect her to be able to get a piece in here, even against the male rivals, just based on her running style. And I think she's shown that she can close, where we've already talked about some horses in here that they need dire pace help or they had no excuse.
Next up is Spiced Up. I thought his turf race was really, really nice. His first two starts in his career were on the dirt. One was on the fast dirt, one was on a sloppy racetrack. And in both of those races, he ran in spots. He showed some ability, some speed in that career debut. Then he came from off the pace a little bit behind a really nice horse named Donut God. And then this race just put it all together. It was the first start as a 3-year-old. This was actually off of a long layoff, too. It was his first start in 7 months. He just sat like a pro, angled out at the top of the lane and blew by. I loved how much he seemed like he had matured, how professional this win was, Ashley. And I could just see him sitting in a really nice spot.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he steps up. Obviously, this is a step up in class. You look at the horses that finished behind him in his maiden score. A lot of seconds, thirds, and fourths out of that group, right? The horses that have run fine in maiden special weight events, mainly at Saratoga after that. But you said it, a huge step forward. You have to think maybe better now at 3 than 2. Maybe it was a surface switch. If that's sort of where we're starting, can he take a big step forward? I think that's the case. And the workouts have been quite sharp as well. So with all that in mind, and then combining the connections, I think he's, a horse that's likely going to take some betting support in here.
Ortley Avenue is very quick. I thought his effort in the quick call was solid too. He dug in and he did not let No Evidence get by late in that race, which a lot of times when you're battling for those minor awards and those placings, it's very important. It looked like at one point No Evidence was going to push through on the inside. Maybe things were a little bit tight for No Evidence down there. He had a couple different times. He had a couple different times in the race where things were a little tight for him, but I was actually impressed with how Ortley Avenue was able to hold there. We're taking a look at Ortley Avenue right there down on the inside. So what do you think about him overall? He was no match for Governor Sam last time out. Can he turn the tables on him or maybe make the margin closer?
You mentioned the aspect of fighting. I think that's good. And I like that as well. I just don't like that he's got to go 5.5 again. At 5 and 5.5 on the turf, he's sort of given it up in both. And maybe it's not that he's just even given it up. It's just that other horses that might be a bit better than him have been able to win. And to know that he has to face Governor Sam again, I think that's a concern. And then there's also the concern, I think he could be pressured a lot more than he was in the quick call.
That's what I think about this race too, the way it sets up. Felt like the last race was the race where he gets the lead, he's able to clear, he's able to get the trip that he wants, and it still really wasn't enough to get the job done. I'm a little bit worried with the presence of other speed horses in here like Gabaldon. We move to No Evidence, second start after the short break. I mean, this guy's remarkably consistent, Ashley. He's very honest. He just hasn't really been stepping forward in his races. Like he seems like he almost runs the same sort of race every time. Type of horse who can show some speed or can sit behind horses and pass a little bit. I just don't really know if he's good enough to win. I could see him maybe hitting the board.
Yeah, I could see him getting a piece. We kind of saw the stretch run where he did get a little tight and kind of had to move up near alongside the hedge. That could have been hard on him, but you go down the page and you look at the debut or 2 starts back or 3 starts back, are sort of getting the same thing every time. He's failed as the favorite in several of those races. I think now you're actually going to get better value on him like you did in the quick call. Certainly poised to take a step forward, second off the layoff, but you just kind of look at his numbers. There hasn't been really much improvement in the last 4. I haven't seen anything that makes me think that today is going to be different or really Sunday is going to be different for him.
Ancient World will try the turf for the first time. The Dam never tried the grass. Had two siblings that tried it. One of them tried the turf, was 0 for 2. So there's not a whole lot of direct turf breeding there when you look at the Dam side, or direct siblings there for Ancient World. This is a horse who was third in the Chick Lang 2 starts back, ran well there. Then in the Maxfield, might have been facing a little too tough of company. We've talked about that race a few times over the last couple days when we previewed races. It was a decent little stakes race there, the Maxfield. So I wasn't really sure what to do with Ancient World in here, first time on the turf.
Yeah, the turf's a question mark. Into Mischief, I think they can run on anything but preferred dirt, in my opinion. Maybe the 7 Ace was also too far for him. So I like
Yep.
the cutback for him in distance. I think his 6 furlong events have been fine, each and every one of them. As you mentioned, Chick Lang, I think, is a good race that he exits. And you can see it looks like they might have been toying with the turf a little bit. Now has the 2 breezes over the training track turf course at Saratoga. But just one, I don't know really what to do with him as well, especially when you know you have horses in here that are proven on the turf and have a little bit more to show in their last out.
Gabaldon went 21-1, 43.80 in his career debut at Gulfstream Park. He can absolutely fly. It was so good that they went right to Royal Ascot off of that effort, and in a field of 27 was able to finish second that day and was leading the field. Comes back, though, off of a long layoff in the Texas Glitter. That was in March of this year. A little bit disappointing in that race. He showed that normal speed, but he didn't really have much of a fight late. They gelled him. He's the type of horse, Ashley, who with the gelding might be able to improve. He's just a tricky horse. You know, he's got ability. He's very kind of like studdish with the way he wants to run off. I wonder with the gelding if that can maybe just get him to relax a little bit and help him kind of harness his speed better. He's certainly quick. I worry about the 5.5 furlongs though with him.
Yeah, I worry about it a little bit, and I kind of, look at what he's been up to. The gelding part gets listed technically in May of 2025, right? And then you see no works until June, a month later, and that's fine. But there were no works after that other race. So it makes me wonder if he had a little bit of a setback. They're trying to,
Yeah.
to decide to geld him and cut him at that point. I don't know how to read him. Obviously, the Windsor Castle, good performance. He was able to get into that based on the win at Gulfstream Park, a new program that they've had the last couple of years. But then he has all that time off. They bring him back in the stakes race back in March. And did he just need the race? Maybe he just needed a race. And now you've kind of added the dimension of now he's got to go 5.5, Gino. Now it's his first start off a layoff. It feels like we're starting at square one again. And if he's pressured early, he's going to go. Other horses are going to go as well. Are we going to see the same result that we did last time out? I have a feeling that could be the case. Now he's 8-1 though. If he's near that price, I think maybe if you like him, you're more, going to be able to be talked onto him or back him at 8-1. But if he's shorter than that, I don't know what price you take.
Yeah, I agree with you. 5 and above, I'll start to warm up. But as you were pointing out, what concerns me is the return from the layoff and then the layoff again after that, right? Shows back up in March. You would have liked to see him string some races together since then, but it's March and then gelding a couple months later. And then there's the works that aren't really
Right.
the pattern's not fluid. It's kind of spotty. There's some days in between. So one other horse that's not necessarily the easiest to assess in here. We move to Governor Sam. He's just so cool. I've tried to beat him a bunch of times, Ashley, as I'm sure a lot of gamblers have on paper, because he has races where he cuts it close. He's just able to fight others off. He's been out of the money once on the turf, and then the other time was on a wet track. I think I said he was in the money in all of them. And one of the races was early on in his career. But since then, he has just been a model of consistency. What really impressed me with the race on July 13th in the quick call, I was trying to beat him that day because on paper, it looked like there was a lot of early speed in there. I was worried he might get caught up in that battle. He sat off a couple lengths like it was no problem. He like flipped the switch off. Then when they wanted to run, he moved nicely. And if he's able to do that and show maturity, he's going to be really tough in here.
Absolutely. And you bring up a great point. He's only really done that one other time in the tie route where he's able to sit and rate. And other ones, I just think he's just been so quick. You have to let him do what he does, right? If he breaks on top, why fight him? Sometimes we see that break on top and you take back. And maybe that works on some horses. I know for certain, though, it doesn't work on all of them. And for him to break the way he did last time out, got a good trip, and then made a move, I liked that. You look at his body of work, it's really hard to insult him in any way based on his debut. Okay, he needed a race And then obviously a race over a muddy track that was carted for the turf. How can you hold it against him? So rightfully so, the horse to beat.
Grade 3 winner, grade 1 placed. Governor Sam rounds out the field. We move to selections here, Ashley, for the grade 3 Mahony, $175,000 up for grabs. It's going to go as race number 9 on Saratoga, and we both have the same exacta in here. I'm looking at it like Governor Sam is the horse to beat. Maybe we can get a little value on a new face with some upside. And if you're just kind of looking at the speed figures and everything, if Spiced Up is able to just improve a little bit off of that turf debut, that would probably put him right in the mix with Governor Sam and some of the other top contenders.
Yeah, same thought process. Going to try to get a little bit of value on top. Spiced Up and Saturday Flirt were the two that caught my eye. Little concern I mentioned about Saturday Flirt. The trip, I don't necessarily think she has to be dead last, but I think she'll have more work to do than Spiced Up. And then you talked about it, the upside. We saw the potential in the 3-year-old debut. Where does he go from here? And I also like the trip that he got in a big field to graduate last time out. So we're just trying to get, I guess, a little creative, but Governor Sam is the horse to beat.
Is it Governor Sam for you, or are you looking in a different direction? Drop a comment below and let us know. For Ashley, 4931. For me, 4968. Whoever you play, however you play them, wish you the best of luck.